Good morning, I'm Praram Vadahar. Let's begin with the main stories. Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli to sign agreements on railways, energy and infrastructure development with China during his ongoing China visit. Over 250,000 service seekers wait for their electronic driving licenses. Those going abroad most affected by the delay of the Department of Transport Management. In a surprising move, the US pulls out of the United Nations Human Rights Council, dubs the council as hypocritical and self-serving. And host Russia too good for Egypt. A win by Uruguay over Saudi Arabia will propel Russia into the round of 16. Let us begin with the national political updates. Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli is in China for his 6-day official visit of the northern neighbor. Addressing a program hosted by the Nepalese embassy upon his arrival in Beijing, Prime Minister Oli said that cooperation between the two nations had to be taken forward by strengthening the connectivity on the two sides of the mountains. Reiterating Nepal's support for the One China policy, Prime Minister Oli noted that Nepal also wished to reap benefits from the rapid development of China. Saying that Nepal had already been a part of the much-touted Belt and Road Initiative, Oli stressed on the need for large-scale investments in Nepal. Premier Oli is scheduled to meet Chinese President Xi Jinping later today. Oli, who is in China at the invitation of his Chinese counterpart Li Keqiang, is scheduled to hold parleys with the Nepalese community in China and also address the Nepal-China Business Forum 2018 today itself. Prime Minister Oli is scheduled to meet Chinese Prime Minister Li Keqiang tomorrow. Bilateral agreements are to be forged and signed in the meeting, which will be held at the Great Hall of People in Beijing, followed by a joint press conference. Dialogue will also be held on the implementation of past agreements and the subject of joint investment. Likewise, resuming operation of the Tatapani Customs, which has remained closed since the earthquake, operation of other transit points, reduction of the trade deficit, model for selection and investment of projects under the BRI project, among other agendas, are to be delved into. According to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, agreements on railway, roadway and energy sector are also to be signed. Prime Minister Oli is scheduled to return to Nepal on the 24th of June. This is Oli's first visit to China since becoming the Prime Minister for the second time. Prior to this, Oli had embarked to India for his state visit 3 months ago. Now, pioneer neurosurgeon Dr. Upendra Devkota's last rites were held at the Pasupati Aryaghat yesterday. Devkota's last rites were performed by his wife Dr. Madhu Dixit Devkota and 3 daughters Medha, Basudha and Manjari. It was informed that funeral proceedings will complete in 7 days. Late Dr. Devkota's body was kept at the Neuro Hospital premises from 8 in the morning till 1 yesterday afternoon for his well-wishers to pay their last tribute. Late Dr. Devkota had been battling with gallbladder cancer and passed away at the capital's Neuro Hospital in Banswari. He was also treated at King's Hospital in England for 5 months and had returned to Nepal on the 28th April earlier this year. During his tenure as the health minister, late Dr. Devkota had transformed the country's oldest hospital, Behr Hospital, as the Medical Science National Academy. The National Identity Card Distribution Center, established under the Home Ministry, has started collecting details of 3 generations of the families in Pasthar. 5 teams have been deployed in all rural municipalities of Pasthar to take in the details of 3 generations of families as per the part of the model. The center plans to distribute national identity cards to 110,000 citizens in Pasthar district. Time now for the international news. The United States has pulled out of the United Nations Human Rights Council. The U.S. envoy to UN, Nikki Haley, said that the body was hypocritical and self-serving and made a mockery of human rights. Haley last year accused the Council of chronic anti-Israel bias and said the U.S. was reviewing its membership. Formed in 2006, the Geneva-based council has been criticized for allowing countries with questionable human rights records to be members. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres, in a statement released through a spokesman, said he would have much preferred the US to remain in the council. The UN Human Rights Commissioner Zeid Ra'ad al-Hussein called the U.S. withdrawal disappointing. The move comes amid intense criticism over the Trump administration's policy of separating child migrants from their parents at the U.S.-Mexico border. U.S. President Donald Trump has threatened to levy a 10% tariff on $200 billion of Chinese goods in a tit-for-tat trade drill with Beijing. Trump said he has trade advisors to identify additional Chinese products on which to impose new tariffs. Last week, Trump announced the U.S. would impose 25% tariffs on $50 billion worth of Chinese goods. Beijing responded by saying it would hit 659 U.S. goods worth $50 billion with a similar tax. The U.S. president released a statement saying that the tariffs would go into effect if China refuses to change its practices and also if it insists on going forward with the new tariffs that it has recently announced. The White House said that if China goes through with its promise to retaliate against the U.S. tariffs announced last week, the United States would impose tariffs on an additional $200 billion worth of Chinese goods. He said that the trade relationship between the United States and China must be more equitable. U.S. tariffs that affect more than 800 Chinese products worth $34 billion in an annual trade are due to come into effect on the 6th of July. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un is making a two-day visit to China a week after meeting U.S. President Donald Trump. It is expected he will discuss sanctions and the commitment he made at the summit in general terms to denuclearize the Korean peninsula. Beijing, North Korea's only economic ally, has already suggested sanctions against North Korea could be eased. Meanwhile, the U.S. and South Korea have confirmed they have suspended planning for their next joint military drills. That follows the pledge made by Trump at the Singapore summit. The visit to China is Kim's third since March, when his first trip, in fact, abroad since taking office was to meet President Xi Jinping. His latest visit was unusually reported by Chinese state media, but it gave no details on the agenda as well. On the 12th of June, Trump and Kim signed what the U.S. president called a comprehensive agreement. North Korea agreed to denuclearization, something it had also committed to in talks with South Korea, while Trump said the U.S. would end its joint military exercises with South Korea. The number of service seekers awaiting their electronic driving licenses has crossed over 250,000. However, despite the increasing demand, the Department of Transport Management has been neglecting the distribution of the smart card for a long period now. The Department of Transport Management had halted the distribution of paper licenses 3 years ago in order to start the use of smart cards. However, vehicle owners who cleared their license tests have been using license receipts as a proof of their license for 9 months now, as the department failed to provide them with the electronic licenses, also called the smart card. Service seekers have become agitated at the department's negligence. Around 5,000 service seekers register for smart card every day against the department's per-day capacity of 600 cards. This delay has mostly affected individuals vying to go abroad. Time now for our segment Public Pulse, where you text us with your opinion.
Public Pulse.
The question is, why is there a delay in distributing smart driving licenses? Your options are A, lack of technology-friendly staff, B, difficult process, and C, commission game. The voting is on. You can type NEWS, select your option A, B or C, and then send it to 34001 to share your opinion with us. And yesterday we had asked the locals of Sankwa Sabha, Jhapa, Birganj and Surkhet what they expect from Prime Minister K.P. Sharma Oli's China visit. Let us now take a look at what they had to say.
Public Voice.
उत्तरी नाकाका तर्फका सडक सञ्जालहरुमा विस्तारमा सहयोग, ऊर्जा क्षेत्रमा सहयोग र नेपालमा रेल मार्ग सुरुवात गर्ने भनिएको छ, त्यसमा चाहिँ सहयोग पुर्याउन सकियो भने पक्कै पनि यो भ्रमण फलदायी हुन्छ।
चिनिया रेल मार्ग जस्तै नेपालमा पनि रेल मार्गहरु निर्माण हुँदै जाउन्।
राजनैतिक, व्यापारिक, कूटनीतिक सम्बन्धको चाहिँ विकास हुन्छ भन्ने चाहिँ नेपाली जनताले आशा गरेको छ।
केरुङको नाकाहरु हैन, त्यसको चाहिँ अब जुन कार्यान्वयन होस्।
विद्युत प्रसारण लाइनको अहिलेसम्म सम्झौता भएको छैन, त्यो पनि त्यो सँगसँगै नेपालमा हाइड्रो पावर सम्बन्धी पनि सम्झौताहरु होस्।
विगतमा भएको सम्झौताहरु चाहिँ कार्यान्वयन हुनु पर्यो यो यसपालि।
रेलवेको र तपाईको बिजुलीहरुको कुरा धेरै मतलब उठेको छ, खास गरी रेलवेको त्यो कुरा ठोस रूपमा चाहिँ आओस्।
Time now for the sports news.
Sports News.
The host nation Russia has almost ensured a knockout berth with a resounding 3-1 win over Egypt. Russia dished out another excellent football as they tamed Egypt with 3 second-half goals. Following a goalless first half, Russia shot into the lead through an own goal conceded by Egypt shortly into the second half. Ahmed Fatih put the ball into his own net while trying to clear the ball. Cheryshev doubled the lead in the 59th minute, making use of a pass by Fernandez. This was Cheryshev's third goal of the tournament, as he had scored 2 against Saudi Arabia in the opening match of the tournament. Artem Yuba scored the team's third goal in the 62nd minute. Mohamed Salah reduced the deficit for Egypt in the 73rd minute by virtue of a spot kick. Meanwhile, a win by Uruguay against Saudi Arabia later today will propel Russia into the round of 16.
Awarded, and Salah stepped forward to emphatically score. Fabulous penalty, but it wouldn't make any difference. A consolation and no more. Russia 3, Egypt 1.
Senegal, appearing in its second World Cup, defeated Poland 2-1 in a Group H match of the FIFA World Cup late yesterday. In the match played at Moscow, Senegal took a 1-0 lead in the 37th minute after an own goal by Poland's Thiago Czernek. Elisa's strike got a massive deflection by Czernek that wrong-footed Polish goalkeeper Szczęsny. By Niang doubled the lead for Senegal in the 60th minute after an awful error from keeper Szczęsny.
Well, was he going in or not? We might see better from this angle. The heavy deflection, though, completely wrong-footed Szczęsny.
Krijovac chipped a high back pass to Bednarik, and Niang raced in unmarked and went past both the defender and the goalkeeper. Grigor Krijovac reduced the deficit in the 86th minute for Poland. Meanwhile, earlier yesterday, Asian powerhouse Japan defeated 10-man Colombia 2-1. In the Group H match played at Saransk, Colombia started the match terribly as Carlos Sanchez was shown the red card in the 3rd minute, reduced Colombia to 10 men.
Carlos Sanchez dismissed. Picture of concentration.
Shinji Osago's shot was saved by Colombian keeper David Ospina. The rebound taken by Kagawa was blocked by Carlos Sanchez with his hand. Kagawa made no mistakes from ensuring penalty to put Japan 1-0 ahead. Colombia fought back to get an equalizer as Juan Quintero scored in the 39th minute following free kick cleverly taken by Quintero. In the second half, Shinji Osaki scored in the 73rd minute through a header to give Japan a 2-1 lead. Japan held on to their lead to secure 3 very precious points.
Ball pinging around, and then they were able to go in front. Yuya Osako getting the goal. Headed goal from the in Russia extends beyond the group stage. It's a very different story, however.
That is all for the moment. Our next English bulletin will air at 11 a.m. Keep watching Kantipur Television SD for more news, entertainment and updates on the FIFA World Cup 2018 in Russia. Have a great day ahead.